Hello, dear friends. Welcome back, not to an English lesson, but to a space where we fix why English disappears when you need it most. The harder you try to speak perfect English, the worse your English becomes, and nobody tells you this. If you've ever felt confident in your head, but suddenly blank when you start speaking, if the words vanish the moment someone listens, this video is not about grammar, vocabulary, or practice hours. It's about the silent mistake that's blocking your fluency without you even realizing it. Your English isn't weak, your mind is holding it too tightly. Your English doesn't disappear randomly, and it definitely doesn't disappear because you suddenly forgot everything you learned. It disappears the moment you start trying to control it too much. The moment you become aware that someone is listening, something inside you tightens. You stop simply expressing ideas and start monitoring every word, every pause, every sound coming out of your mouth, and without realizing it, speaking English turns into something heavy instead of natural. When you speak, you're no longer just speaking. You're observing yourself while speaking. A second voice activates in your head, checking grammar, correcting sentences midway, and quietly judging how you sound. Before one sentence even finishes, another thought interrupts it, asking whether the tense is correct, whether the sentence sounds childish, whether you should change the words to sound more intelligent. In that moment, English stops being a language and starts feeling like a performance where one mistake could expose you. This is why English feels so smooth inside your head, but so unstable when you try to speak it out loud. Alone, your thoughts flow because no one is evaluating you. But the second someone listens, fluency collapses under pressure. Fluency cannot survive supervision. Language needs space to move, but pressure compresses it. And the harder you try to sound perfect, the more pressure you create inside your own mind. Under that pressure, your brain doesn't help you create language. It tries to protect you. It slows you down. It makes you hesitate. It pushes you to choose safer, simpler sentences, even when you're capable of much more. Sometimes you restart the same line again and again, searching for a version that feels correct. Sometimes you shrink your ideas because expressing them fully feels risky. And sometimes, even when you clearly know what you want to say, silence feels safer than speaking. This isn't because your English is weak. It's because you're forcing accuracy before flow. Language has never worked that way. Children don't speak fluently because they know grammar. They speak fluently because they are not afraid of being wrong. Freedom comes first, fluency comes next, and accuracy follows naturally after that. But most English learners are trained in reverse, taught to be careful before being confident, to sound correct before sounding real. And that single reversal quietly blocks their English for years without them ever realizing why. Why your brain treats English like an exam. The moment you open your mouth to speak English, your brain doesn't treat it like communication. It treats it like a test, not because you're weak, but because that's how you were trained. From the very beginning, English was connected to marks, corrections, red circles, laughter, comparisons, and the fear of being wrong in front of others. So even years later, when no one is grading you anymore, your brain still reacts as if failure has consequences. This is why your body reacts before your words do. Your heart rate changes. Your throat tightens. Your mind speeds up. You're not calm enough to let language flow because your nervous system thinks something is at stake. You're not just trying to express an idea, you're trying to avoid embarrassment. And when the brain senses danger, even emotional danger, it doesn't care how much English you know. It cares about safety. That's when thinking replaces speaking. Instead of letting sentences come naturally, you start constructing them consciously, piece by piece, like solving a math problem in real time. You translate from your native language. You rearrange word order. You correct yourself before finishing a thought. And while you're doing all this mental work, the natural rhythm of language disappears. This is why you suddenly forget simple words you use every day. This is why your accent feels heavier when you're nervous. This is why your sentences sound robotic even though your thoughts are clear. Your brain is overloaded, not empty. Too much control, too much monitoring, too much fear of being judged, all happening in seconds. English was never supposed to be processed like this. Language lives in a different part of the brain than rules and logic. But when you turn speaking into an exam, you force language into the wrong system. And no matter how much vocabulary you memorize or how many rules you learn, fluency cannot grow in a place where fear is leading. That's the real reason practice alone doesn't fix this. Because you're not practicing freedom, you're practicing pressure. And pressure only makes the exam feeling stronger. Stop trying to speak correctly. Start allowing yourself to speak. Fluency doesn't begin when you fix your grammar. It begins when you give yourself permission to speak without fixing yourself in real time. Most English learners believe confidence comes after correctness, but in reality, correctness only comes because of confidence. The moment you stop interrupting your own sentences to repair them, your brain finally has the space it needs to let language move forward instead of stalling in fear. The shift is simple, but uncomfortable at first. You stop correcting yourself while speaking. You let the sentence come out even if it sounds imperfect. You allow pauses without panic. You finish thoughts instead of restarting them. This isn't about speaking badly, it's about speaking continuously. Flow matters more than form at this stage, because flow trains your brain to stay in communication mode instead of survival mode. When you do this, something important happens. Your brain starts realizing that nothing bad occurs when you speak imperfectly. No alarm goes off. No disaster follows. And slowly, the exam feeling begins to fade. English stops feeling like a situation you need to survive and starts feeling like a tool you can use. That safety is what unlocks access to the words you already know but couldn't reach under pressure. This is also why broken English spoken with confidence sounds better than perfect English spoken with fear. Listeners don't hear grammar first. They feel clarity, intent, and ease. When you prioritize completing ideas over correcting sentences, your speech becomes more human, more natural, and easier to follow, even if it's not technically perfect. At first, your mind will resist this. It will want to jump in and fix everything. Let it complain. Don't follow it. Fluency is trained by letting language finish itself without interruption. Accuracy will catch up later, naturally, once your brain learns that speaking is safe again. That's how real speakers are formed, not by control, but by trust. You are not a learner anymore. You are a speaker in transition. At some point, the real block is no longer English. It's the identity you're carrying while speaking it. As long as you see yourself as a learner, your brain stays cautious. Learners are careful. Learners try not to make mistakes. Learners wait until they feel ready. And that mindset quietly keeps you stuck in preparation mode, even when you already have enough English to communicate. A speaker, on the other hand, is not waiting for permission. A speaker doesn't pause to ask if every sentence is correct. A speaker trusts the message more than the form. This doesn't mean speakers are perfect. It means they are present. And presence is what makes language sound confident, even when it's imperfect. The moment you shift how you see yourself, your behavior changes without effort. This is why some people with less English sound more fluent than people who have studied for years. They are not trying to prove anything. They are not performing. They are simply expressing. Their brain is focused on meaning, not monitoring. And because of that, their English moves forward instead of collapsing inward. When you speak English from this identity, mistakes stop feeling dangerous. They become part of motion, not evidence of failure. You don't freeze when a sentence isn't perfect. You adjust naturally and keep going. And each time you do that, your brain rewires itself just a little more to believe that English is safe, usable, and yours. This is the moment everything shifts. Not because you learned something new, but because you stopped holding yourself back. You didn't suddenly become fluent. You stopped blocking the fluency that was already forming inside you. If this video felt uncomfortably accurate, it's because you were never broken. You were just trying too hard to be right instead of allowing yourself to be real. English didn't fail you, pressure did. And the moment you release that pressure, even a little, your words start finding their way back. You don't need more rules right now. You don't need more memorization. What you need is trust. Trust that your English doesn't need permission to exist, and trust that fluency grows when you stop fighting yourself while speaking. Every time you choose flow over perfection, you're training your brain to stay open instead of shutting down. So, the next time you speak, don't aim to impress. Aim to express. Finish the thought. Let the sentence be imperfect. Let yourself sound human. That's how real speakers are made. If this helped you see your English differently, type flow in the comments. I read every single one. Subscribe if you want English that feels natural, confident, and pressure-free. Share this with someone who knows English, but still goes silent when it's time to speak. Your English doesn't need fixing. It needs freedom. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.